Back again. This week we're in UFC Rio, back with the tips and the tricks. This week in Rio it's going to be kind of interesting because I believe that there's a lot of underdogs on this card. I'm not going to do too much yapping. Let's just get down to the lock of the week.
There is the undefeated Mario Pinto!
And yes, lads, this week's lock of the week is going to be Mario Punto? Mario Punto. Now, personally to me, I believe that this is strange odds. Both these are not exactly going to be the high class of heavyweight. It's not like there's really many talented heavyweights outside of maybe the top 5. But being honest, from watching their last two performances, I would say that I think Pinto has the way higher power here. I think Pinto is the higher striker, better accuracy. I think Denise is very hittable, as we can see inside the Marcin fight. When you get him to the ground, he's clueless. So both of them are clueless on the ground. I would say the minuscule grappling goes to Pinto in my opinion, but there's nothing here. I can see this being either a first or second round finish by Pinto. I can see it kind of playing out like the Trubila fight, where basically Denise starts really quick but then kind of gasses. Same as the Elvin Hines fight where he gasses, but of course Elvin Hines is just classic fodder from LFA who was popped for whatever he popped. It's not exactly special. I think Pinto is definitely the heavier striker between the two. I think he has the power, and I think that's what's going to be the main decider of this fight. I think Denise will basically walk onto a massive shot. Last fight he finished Austin Lane, maybe not that impressively in the first 5 minutes. It kind of looked like, okay, Lane was able to hold and stay with him, not being able to break out, but then the first minute Pinto landed, fight was over. For Denise, it was a good performance to get tying. He kind of needed it after the Tubulan fight, but it does kind of prove a bit maybe the UFC have given up on him after one loss, and Pinto's probably the more favourable matchup as 8-0, and you know, if he wins, obviously. But we'll move into the favourites because that's going to be the lock. We're in the favourites here now, and I'm going to start with one that might look a bit weird. I always put him in here. I don't think there's a time where I don't put in Charles, but personally to me, this time I've good reason. I have gone between this fight for nearly the whole week. I've kind of thought Gamrot will take him. I would have thought he would have beat Rafael Aziz quite easily, to be genuinely honest. So I've debated the Gamer, but then the one that swayed me on the Gamer is watching the Dan Hooker fight to realise that there's no plan B from the Gamer. There's never been a plan B. If plan A doesn't work, it's force plan A till it works. Then he gasses himself, then he loses a fight. The Dan Hooker fight's a great example of that. Dan was able to stop his first takedown. Dan was able to stop multiple takedowns as he just keep trying to jump to single, to double legs that just didn't work. There's no real striking game from Gamrot either. It's one of those things where I believe that there's no real striking in his game. He doesn't have anything set up. There's not really a jab. There's a few looping hooks and a few looping strikes, but nothing like solid base stuff. It's more just try and force wrestling. And no, look, he can get Charles down. I'm not saying that he won't be able to get Charles down, but I think when he gets Charles down, he's entering the most dangerous guard in the UFC. He's entering the man with the most submissions in UFC history. Charles is very slippery on the ground. I can see Charles being honestly able to just basically grind out a decision here. I don't see him finishing. I don't see a finish in this fight. I can see a grind out decision. I can see a, if I'm being honest, a 49-46 to Charles to me sounds pretty solid, because I think that he's going to be able to just outwork Gamrot. I think Gamrot will start good for the first 2 rounds, fade away after the multiple wrestling attempts, then Charles will probably just take over. Okay, next we move into Ricardo Ramos. Now, okay, yes, I may have forgot who that was. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, there's a lot of Brazilians on here that have had 1 to 2 fights in the UFC, so I am trying to use my brain. Ricardo Ramos has had a few fights in the UFC. Now, again, this is a battle of 2 lads who are, 1-4 in the UFC. He's only beaten Josh Cabero. He's lost to Charles Jordan, and Julian Rosa by guillotine, and Chepe Mascal. Now, they are nowhere near bad losses to have. To me, Konafi has been very lucky to stay in the UFC so far. Neimanov and Marlon Santos, he even lost the Ultimate Fighter. So, in my personal opinion, I can see Ramos being able to take this fight. I think Ricardo Ramos does actually genuinely take this fight. I think it's one of these ones where it's 2 guys coming in with not really much form. Khan Ali, to me, doesn't really have any grappling from what I've seen. He has decent boxing, it's set up well, but I can see Ramos just being able to outwork him for 15 minutes. I don't really see a definitive part here. I think both these are very similar matched. I just think Ricardo robbery could be incoming, but I can see him getting a pretty grindy 15 minutes, nothing exactly spectacular, but I can see Ricardo Ramos being able to take it. And the last fight and the last person on the ACA is... sorry, my brain has just gone absolutely poot to this card. Lucas Roca. Personally, to me, I'm just going to pick Lucas Roca here. I think that Stuart Nicolal is definitely his biggest test. He's 17-2, but it's mostly on the regional scene. He got submitted very quickly by Clayton Carpenter in his UFC debut. Being fair to that fight, he had crazy power and was definitely hurting Carpenter in the first round. Just Carpenter's a very, very good mixed martial artist, so I'm not going to sit here and say that's a bad loss. To me, Stuart Nicolay being able to get submitted in the first round by Jesus Aguilar is not exactly that impressive by guillotine. Like, Jesus Aguilar is not the greatest ground fighter. He has decent boxing, but not the greatest, grappling as such. So I would say, in my opinion, I think Lucas Roca has the higher power. I think he's going to get the finish here. I think that's going to be it. I think he definitely is the one. They've definitely fought the similar competition, but I say Lucas Roca had the harder fight. He definitely looked better in the fight. He landed the bigger power, and I think Stuart Nicolay will be sleeping. So we will move down to the underdogs. Now, I actually have 4 underdogs for this card because genuinely I believe that this is the weekend for underdogs. We'll start with Thomas Peterson. Now, there is a bit of a hate train on this channel by myself to Victor Petrino now, to be 100% honest. But I have to be realistic. Yes, okay, his win against Austin Lane looked good, okay? He was able to dominate Austin Lane on the ground, he was able to outmuscle him, he was able to kick up. But if we're being realistic, Austin Lane tried absolutely nothing to get off the mat. If we're being honest, it was great hip control, but he didn't try to scoot the knees, he didn't try to push up, he didn't really try to get up off his back because he doesn't really know how to. In the contrary, I believe that if Thomas Peterson is able to get this to the mat, which I think Victor Petrino is going to look for, I don't think he's going to look for a stand-up battle in heavyweight. I do believe he still holds some of his 205 power, but I think it's one of these ones where if he goes for the grappling this time, I think Thomas Peterson could actually outwork him and get a 15-minute decision. I think Peterson is definitely the better grappler, I think, between the two of them. The power is probably still on Petrino's side, but I don't think he's actually going to strike as a heavyweight. And I'm also not sure he's fully figured out the gas tank as a heavyweight, because he was already starting to gas in the Lane fight. And I think if he's going to come in here and he might not have the power to be able to take out Thomas Peterson, then you're definitely going to be in trouble, because Thomas Peterson is definitely the higher grappler. I'll take him at 5-2. I think that's the right move. Next, we move into Jahal Filio. Jahal Filio. Now, Jahal Filio is actually fighting Clayton Carpenter. Now, for what I just said about Clayton Carpenter, it's maybe a bit of a weird move. I just think that this is a bit of a step up for Clayton Carpenter, maybe a bit too early in his career. I believe that Jahal Filio is definitely the heavier grappler here, even though I do think Clayton Carpenter is good on the ground. I just believe that if it hits the mat, Filio is definitely more likely, in my opinion, to be able to find the submission, find the neck, and be able to finish this fight. I think that obviously the more stamina and speed is on Clayton Carpenter's side, but I can believe that he might blow the load early, trying to get the finish with a bit of inexperience. He is a very, very good fighter, don't get me wrong, Clayton Carpenter, but I just think Filio is going to be able to edge out of 15 minutes here by using more veteran experience. I think he's the heavier grappler between the two of them. Definitely not the striker, he doesn't have the speed, but I think it's one of these ones where I wouldn't be too surprised if Clayton Carpenter drops him and jumps in and then gets submitted because he gets overexcited. Next we move into Samuel Oliveira. No, Samuel Oliveira is not very well known in the UFCs. He is 3-0, he did take a bit of a break between his fights, and he's actually come in overweight, so that's probably even better. He's coming in overweight at bantamweight. He is the underdog, and I'm going to pick him, to be honest, because I believe that he personally has had a very, very hard run in the UFC. He's been given David Martinez, Daniel Marcos. They're 2 hard tests, and Tony Gravely, not brilliant, but these are all so long ago. I believe that his opponent doesn't really have the same experience like Cody Stamann and fucking Damon Blackshear. They're not too bad, but I do believe that this is more just a contract in the middle, ye fight for it. And in my opinion, I believe that Oliveira has the better power. I think it's the better grappling goes to Oliveira as well. I think he's the one that's going to be able to outwork this. I think the experience will probably play a part here. So somehow the reach is in Oliveira's favour, even though he's trained to shorter. Strange, but should be able to use that reach, should be able to get this done. I believe that this will be by decision. I just think that he is the one with the more experience. And then we're going to go with who would have been the lock. I'll spill the beans here. It would have been the lock. But I couldn't justify it just because I'm still a bit on edge about Figgy. I am going to throw him here because I'm still going to back him. Just don't want to lock him because the lock means a bit. So, Davison Figueiredo, I do find this crazy that after one loss to who just fought for the belt, he goes to, he goes this far down, and he's only lost to Petr Yan and Corey Sandhagen. I think this could be a misstep, to be honest, by the bookmakers. Not that I think Montel Jackson's bad. I do think Quick is good. I think he clearly has the speed, and his name's Quick. He is 9-2 in the UFC. He's been able to take out Daniel Marcos, but Damon Blackshear. Yeah. Look, from his wins, if I'm being honest, like JP Boys, Julian Erosa, Rani Yanya, Damon Blackshear, Daniel Marcos, I'm sorry to say, I don't think any of them are anywhere even a sliver near Davison Figueiredo. They're nowhere near Davison Figueiredo. Now, I understand Figgy hasn't really jumped up that well, up 10 pounds, but for being honest, we're really just judging this from an injury against Corey Sandhagen and him fighting Petr Yan. Like, his Rob Font performance was great, Cody Garbrandt performance was great, so was his Oliveira performance. They're not exactly entertaining, and I don't think his power translates, but he's still a very heavy, strong grappler, even 10 pounds up. I can see him just being able to grind out Montel Jackson here and getting a 15-minute decision. I don't see him being able to get finished, or him finishing him. I think Montel Jackson has the speed, but for the first round, I think it's one of these ones where he might blow it trying to get the finish or trying to push realistically damage to where I think Figgy can really take over and grappling. I think at 12-5, I'd be absolutely bananas not to throw this down here. I think it's crazy not to go for it. It'd be actually kind of stupid, to be honest. I'll actually throw in, I might as well just give kind of a, because I've nearly done the whole card here, I might as well just give quick on what I think. I do think Julian Palestri is going to win that fight. Benice Montella is going to win that fight. I'd actually say Lucas Almeida will beat Michael Alsol. I'm not saying to tip this, but still. And then obviously Julian Alvarez will probably get a finish in under 3 or 2 minutes in the first round. I love Vicente Luque, but this just seems like they're slaughtering the man. So we'll move down to the ACA and we'll get over there. I guess this is going to have to be the ACA. I did not realise that the okay, well, I've just figured out here by making this now that just figured out while we're making this now that the Walter Walker fight's gone as I tried to go make the ACA. So, yeah, I guess we'll move back, and this is now going to be the ACA because I don't really have much choice. So this is now going to be the ACA. We'll just throw down these 3. It's not going to be 4 fights, but it's going to go Charles, Ramon, and Roca, 10 on, 50 back. That's what we're going to do. And anyways, if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button or hit subscribe button. I'll be back again. I'm doing these a bit later in the week because my brain's just kind of working through what to put down here. This was a bit of a hard card, all the Brazilian stuff. But anyways, if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button or hit the subscribe button. See you next one. Peace.